Kenzy Udosen is my guest today. Welcome to the Good News Naija podcast, where we celebrate stories of Nigerians who are doing extraordinary things and making global waves. My name is Desmond Eboy-Kungwe, and I really can't wait to have this conversation with Kenzy. I do hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed creating this.
It is my first time on a podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Why?
a podcast virgin.
You're a podcast virgin.
I'm a podcast virgin. This is my first time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's so good to have you on the Good News Naija podcast.
I hope it's good news, because podcast has a lot of bad PR in Nigeria.
No. We're pushing out good stories from Nigeria, and you're definitely good news.
Ooh, thank you. You ate that.
But thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
I've been a fan of your work even before you moved to Lagos. I knew you were in uni at the time when you started, and then I was very engaged with your work. And then I was like, there was one time, because I still have a job at Channels where I produce a certain show. And I saw your entry for the show. I was like, whoa, what is it trying to do here? So for you, because a lot of young people, there's that need to wait till after uni, because I started working at a radio station when I was in uni, all thanks to Vibes FM for the opportunity. But why did you think there was the need to start out early before graduating?
Oh, that's such a good question. For me,
Thank you so much for that question.
Oh, thank you so much. The pageantry. So for me, at the time, I think it was just from a need of you have to make money. I was very motivated at the time to make money because I was seeing myself partly through school. Bless my mom, single mom, lost my dad early on. And so a lot of my education in the University of Nigeria, I had to, step up and take up most of that. So I did a lot of work in school. And so anytime I saw opportunities like that, I would always jump on it because, yes, I was hugely motivated by the need to make some extra cash. So yes, that was what motivated me at the time. I'm sorry, is that disappointing?
No,
Okay.
I'm very intrigued because, now that I hear that, I can almost see your hunger to push the work that you're doing, the different things you're doing. So why content creation? Because I know you're a fantastic presenter.
Yes.
But then I now see you do, you still put a lot of that, teach people how to pronounce words right and all of those. So we still see that. But why content creation?
I think in 2018, at the time, there was this very should I call it a big boom? Content creating was becoming major currency at the time. There was Craze Clown, there was Maraji. We had a lot of them at the time. Not a lot, as much as we have now. But it was so big. It was gaining momentum. And I felt event hosting was a thing. I was making money from event hosting. But would it give me that level of put me out there as much as I wanted to? And so I think content creation for me came in after I did a competition. It was Fisayo Fosudo. I don't know if you know Fisayo. So he was...
I don't know.
Fisayo Fosudo was doing this competition where, he was supposed to win a phone at the time. And I entered, dressed up like a lady to do part of the video. And then I won the phone. It was the first time I posted anything of the sort on social media. I was like, okay, people like it. Maybe Kukuma they do now, and I had some comments at the time saying, it's giving Nigerian Maria. I was like, okay, let's tap into that. Let's use that as the brand and just kind of grow. So that's how content creation came in.
So that is the story, but why did you move to Lagos? Because...
Which kind of question be that?
No, why did you
move to Lagos?
No.
You've always lived in Lagos?
No.
Okay, why did you move?
Because I got a job here.
Okay.
But for you, who is
I came to find
and then
job.
one of your close friends, Joseph. I was listening to one of the interviews he did with one of my mentors, Chudeji Dongo.
Right.
And he spoke about how he's never felt the need to really relocate to Lagos. And he's
making it,
He's making it from the East and all of that. And you even made content with him when you moved back to the East. So, but why did you move? Why the need to move? Why not move impact the world from your village?
You're so rude.
I'm joking. But I'm just saying it's true.
Now you're making me feel like I should go back. But Lagos,
I might go back.
Lagos is a land of opportunities. You can't take it away from Lagos. For Joseph, he has a business. He's running a business in Owerri, a successful business. And to kind of like leave that behind, that's like a whole thing. For me, you're coming out fresh off university. And I mean, Enugu, what it is now wasn't what it was at the time, It wasn't very open to the kind of creation I wanted to do, the creativity I wanted to do. First of all, being in an Igbo community, they're very, very conservative in terms of like what a man dressing like a woman to create content, or for whatever reason, step out on the street and you're making videos. It's a whole thing, right? And so Lagos seemed to be that place where everyone was welcome. Whatever you're doing, as long as you're not doing anything to hurt anyone, you're trying to make money. And so that plus the plethora of opportunities in the state. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me at the time. Plus, everyone was saying, when I come into Lagos, work will come. Hi, so we have this thing. It's in Lagos. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I can do it. I can be in the next bus. When I was still entering bus, I can be in the next bus to Lagos. Oh, sorry, you're not in Lagos? Oh, we thought you were in Lagos. We'll get back to you. And they never do. So I think it was a no-brainer.
But since you moved, these...
That's the thing.
Because
where the job day?
So the money doesn't make sense now that you're in Lagos, or?
I mean, it does. What do you mean?
No, I'm just asking.
Oh, it does make sense. I'm just saying the urgency.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot. It seemed like there was a lot more coming when I was in the East, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not there." But now that I'm here, it's still coming. But I expected it to be like, gym. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
So how's your content evolved? Because I've seen you do a lot of characters, you do a lot of content.
Not anymore.
And then you collaborate a lot with your friends. So for you, how's content evolved?
My content, generally? The evolution of my content. What started off as Madame Teresa was supposed to be an opera singer, which failed drastically. She was supposed to sing, there was this thing Josh Tufoni was doing at the time where he'd sing popular songs, but like in a funny way. So Madame Teresa was supposed to come in like that, but sing it like she's in the opera. I did a couple episodes of that and it was just, nah. And then I was schooling at the time. And so I made videos like, the normal skits where it just feels like a movie, multiple characters, angles, locations and stuff, creating scenarios. But it felt like it was too much work for me combining that kind of content with like schooling at the time. So I had to take a step back. What can I do to make it easier for me so I can just create content on the go as quickly as possible, without thinking too much? And so then came my normal sit-down episodes where I just sit down and dissect certain issues, right? I remember that continued until I was done with school, came to Lagos in 2022, right? Yeah. 2022, April, is when I moved to Lagos. And that was the first time I met Joe. You mentioned him earlier. And so we were thinking, brainstorming, we met, what can we do? My content is very sit down. I'm not that kind of person that does, write script and we go outside and act something, even though I do that now a lot. But like at the time, I felt my content is sit down. This is what I want to do, right? And so, let's just discuss about the variations of our Igbo dialect. Coming from someone who is in Anambra, you are Owerri. And that was the birth of what I call dialect exchange, Then that started, boom, 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 it took off. Did a couple dialects. Then I said, okay, what else can I do? We did quick pronunciations where I would invite guests to pronounce certain words. And then we dissect that as well. And that kept on going till an AMVCA nomination. Just had to put that out there. It's not easy. That went on and, so here we are now. Still doing what we were doing before, but on a much more professional level, Yeah. I mean, short content is what's reigning now. And so we're trying as much as possible to keep it short, snappy, and, get the message out there.
Yeah, you did mention the MVCA, which is something that, we do share that.
Yes. I just have to put it out there,
But I remember crying like a few minutes before my emotions were all over the place, and I was wondering, like, I wasn't worried about the award.
Yeah.
I really just wanted it to pass and all of that. And I saw myself there was somebody who sang the first time. I was like, oh, why are people dying? And then I started crying. And then a friend of mine mentioned that, oh, she's worried about the award. And then we just started talking, and then I just started crying again. But when I decided to process that feeling after the award, it was just the need for that award and what it would do for my career, the assumed idea of what it would do for my career, which is most times is not necessarily the case. But in your own case, how important was that award for you?
You know, it was the second time. AMVC had just announced the previous year that there was a new category, like, you know, digital content creator. And so the next year, I just submitted one of my videos, and I had no hope whatsoever that I'd be nominated, because I felt, I mean, they're bigger content creators now, you know, people who are doing bigger things and all. And so watching that television that night, I was just expecting to see Steve. And I saw Steve, I was screaming, oh my God, Steve made it, yes, you know. Next thing, Kenzy Udosen, quick pronunciation. I say, Amy, AMVC Amy, what? I was screaming. The award was important for me because I think it gave my work some sense of validation, gave me some sense of validation for my work. It's that good for an AMVCA nomination. I've always known it was good, but that good? What I wish I had seen coming was what it would do for me after. Oh, it wasn't positive. I think it did something to me that made me feel like, oh, I had arrived. You know? And that's a terrible thing to feel. That's a terrible thing to have for someone who's trying to build something. AMVCA nomination, I mean, what else is there? You know? So yes, it was important, but I took it too important. It became the center, right? I think for some months after, even after the award show, even after I didn't win and stuff, it still felt, I mean, a nomination is still a win, right? I wasn't doing as much. And then I convinced myself that I needed to do much more. I mean, coming from an AMVCA nomination, I can't be at that same level anymore, which was another terrible thing to feel, because I didn't have the capacity to do as much as I wanted to do. And I limited myself that if I couldn't do that much, there was no point doing anything at all. And so a few months after getting that nomination, and even after the award ceremony, I kind of just went from here down. I spiraled. You know, I had to remind myself over and over again that did not make you. What you put out there made you. And so keep putting out this stuff, regardless of whatever level you think it was. It was nominated at the level that, you know, you put it out before. What makes you think that level is not enough? So just keep doing, keep growing. And so, yeah, it was a good thing to be nominated, but it kind of just made me rest on laurels. And that's something I advise people not to do.
This is a side of you that I've never heard or experienced. I mean, that's why you're a podcast virgin. So
okay, yes, I'm a podcast virgin.
We get to hear a lot of these news stories. But what is your relationship with... Because there was a time that I used to have constant 400 likes as a very mini influencer. And that dropped to 200. And he really... No, I'm not...
Trust me, I can relate, honey.
And I was like... Is it that people don't like me anymore? Like when I post stuff, people are like, oh my God, go Desmond, take your flowers. And now I'm doing way more than what I was doing, and then I don't get as much likes. I mean, during the MVCAs, I got a lot of likes. I was like, apparently y'all are not dead.
I mean, people like to associate with success.
So how do you navigate the need for those likes as a social media influencer? Because the numbers will always be the numbers. And then people, as an influencer, you want to be able to present those numbers to brands and also staying authentic.
So I think what I focus on is on the staying authentic part. Because when you get lost in the numbers, there's no coming back from it. And I have got lost in the numbers a lot of times. Because my relationship with numbers is very up, down, up, down, up, down. I used to be very obsessed with getting those really high numbers, getting those 10,000 likes, you know. Like you said, once brand comes to you and oh, hi, we'd like to see, you know, your data for the last 28 days just to know if, you know, this, that. And you're embarrassed because now red, arrow down, now you see there. And obviously that's going to discourage brands. And so it kind of like makes you very, what's the word? Help me speak the English.
Unmotivated.
When you lose morale. Demoralized. And so the thing will just, they make you feel somehow. But recently, I've found out that once you are authentic and consistent, you can't take away consistency from it. The numbers will rise, whether you like it or not. So
speaking back to collaboration and all of that, so you do have a lot of friends who do similar work, like who are in the content creation space. So in a situation where, for example, the AMVCA, where you are co-nominated with somebody who you co-create with, Steve, how do you navigate that?
Oh, it's a big enough space for all of us.
Yeah, it is. It is not big.
It is such a big space.
So what ran through your mind when the both names were called before the final announcement of the AMVCA?
There was something we both said at every interview we did before the award ceremony, after the nomination, even post-award ceremony. If any of us had won, we'd be excited for it. Because I think Steve was the first major creator I, came in contact with in Lagos, and he just kind of like took me under his wings, very massive wings, by the way. Took me under his wings, and we, had a lot of collaborations. He introduced me to certain who is who in Lagos and stuff like that. And so we were rooting for each other. I was rooting for him. I had another friend in that same category. There was Tikuro. And he said something to me at the award ceremony. I was like, this one we're both of. They say, what if me can't win now? So we had that whole thing going, if I don't win it, interviewers be like, if you don't win it, who else in the category would you want to win it? I was like, it's Steve-O. Who else? Now only Steve-O. So Tikuro was like, I know your friend. So if I win, I won't come. At the end of the day, none of us can win them. We're happy. Say they nominate us at least.
So, I mean, you did mention that you moved to Lagos and you were guided with some really big wings, like Steve and all these people. What were some of the big challenges you faced when you moved to Lagos?
Oh, I think it was housing. You mean in the content space or just like general?
No, general.
I mean, it was housing.
How so?
So when I came into Lagos, I have an auntie, I have family on the mainland in Isolo. And so I stayed with them for a while, I think, 2 months or a month? Yeah, I think I stayed with them for a month. Island, when they rain now, everybody need to collaborate with the islands, you need to be there. And at that time, I know Kukuma get money to go to and fro. That time, I go enter bus from Isolo, go Mushi. From Mushi, I go CMS. CMS, I go enter bus, so they go film for. It was a whole thing. And, oh my Lord, I remember carrying my equipment to go these distances. I had some filming equipment at the time. And so not just they carry and they go collaborate, come back. I was like, I need to find somewhere to stay on the island to make it easier to run these collaborations and, film with these people. And so my cousin who stayed in Aja, I reached out, and then...
Aja?
In Aja, yes, the one bedroom in Aja. That's a King of Boys reference. So I reached out and then I went there, stayed there. It was comfortable, to some point, to an extent. And then it became a hassle. Then we thank the Lord Jesus, money started coming in, I started looking for a place, and then I moved in. So I think, the major challenge I had coming into Lagos was housing, just to find a stable place to, then from where you can navigate all the content. And like I said, my kind of content is you sit down one place and you're filming. And so if the environment of the place where you're there is not giving, you got to find another environment. So it was a lot. It was a lot.
But how did you navigate the expectation from the audience? Because me as an audience, I've always thought you were rich. Ooh, from the start. I promise. So there's always, working in the media, that sometimes everybody's building and all those expectations are unrealistic when you place them on the creator. But how were you able to navigate especially like you have 50,000 followers, maybe, for example, at the time, and somebody sees you who engages your content, sees you carrying your tripod in a bus. Do you think that it's unfair that these expectations are placed on the creator?
Well, yes, I think it is. I think it's unfair, but you can't blame people. the very virtue of your creativity, I think they think that comes from a place of wealth. I don't know what that is, but we've come to see people come from a place of struggle to a place of abundance, that growth, generally speaking. But for me, it never was a thing. I never had to navigate that expectation because I think people were aware. I don't know. Maybe you had delusions of grandeur, but I think it was very
on the nose that you were poor.
They write stuff on my forehead like 666. It's just they there. Poverty. Yeah. I remember Steve telling me one time, you did jump bus? Do you know how many followers you have? What if someone sees you? I'm like, is that a thing? So I was like, okay, then it was not like, oh no, it's not coming from a place of vanity, like, oh, don't jump bus. It's even security, right? I'm like, where I go to get money, they do Uber and all those things back then, So I never felt any pressure. I mean, a couple times people saw me. I mean, there was a time I filmed with Brestilo. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
With Brestilo. That was in Surulere.
The Indian.
Yes, who hasn't moved now. That was in Surulere. And I remember we were finished filming and there was this like serious accident that happened somewhere close to the stadium there in Surulere. I'm not familiar with that place. We trekked from there to CMS. It was one of the longest journeys I've done with my foot. We had to jump down from the bus because nothing was moving. We trekked from that place to CMS. Everybody came down now. So
for content?
Was it? Yeah, we already filmed at Surulere Mall, but we're done. We're not heading back to the island now. I live in Aja. He lives in, I think, Chevron. He lived in Chevron at the time. And so, they go. Motor, they go. Everybody, they jump down. And we go can't stay for motor because we be creators. We carry our equipment for our shoulder. They move. We walked. It was me, my friend Precious Chooks, and Bresilola, and also his friend who accompanied him. And so we walked alongside every other person that, had to come down from the bus.
Did anybody wave to say, hi?
No one did, actually. I mean, it was almost late. This was around, 7, 8 p.m. at the time. So, yeah, it was dark. So everyone just, they walk, they gist, they go. We don't even know when you take reach CMS. I mean, Can I do that now? I don't know. I think I can because I do a lot of walking recently.
Okay. So who's been the kindest, like the first person that comes to mind, who's been the kindest person to you through your journey as a creator? Like sometimes we just think of, but then we always fail to like go back and think on the person who's been the most important in our journey. So who would that person be for you?
I hate to sound like a cliche, but my mother. I know. Don't give me that.
I know.
But my mom, no. Like I said, I mean, Igbos are very conservative. My man, they wear woman clothes. But she never had that. It was always pure love from the very moment I started. Oh, is this what you want to do? Come and collect some of my clothes I'm not using anymore. My costume, till this very moment. Now her clothes, and they wear her clothes, her jewelry. The only thing of hers that I couldn't take was shoes because I have massive legs, massive feet. So I couldn't take her shoes. But every other thing, from clothing to jewelry to a chafu, my scarf, I pack everything. Come to my house now, my wardrobe. There's an entire segment just for female clothing. The woman is tired of me, but I will still collect more because Madame Teresa need to change her clothes now, often. Yes. So yeah, she's always been very supportive of my journey. She's always been there. She's always provided. So yeah.
So the very next question I want to ask is, have you ever thought about beyond all this craze of content? And I like to think that being a content creator is not as stable as people think it is.
Oh, it's not.
So have you ever considered having a 9-to-5 with content?
Yes.
Would you advise it?
I would. But that's if you're not going to be a content creator forever. I mean, no one is going to be a content creator forever, right? But why a 9-to-5? Not necessarily a 9-to-5, but something else apart from content creation. You can't just be a content creator. You have to do other things. Because social media, every single day there's a new somebody coming up. And as much as you want to claim that you are the best at what you do, relevance is something that is fleeting. You can't have it forever.
Do you worry about that?
Do I worry about relevance? Sometimes, when I'm not sleeping. If not all the time. But yeah, sometimes. But you can't control it. You just have to, like I said, be consistent, be authentic. And if the stories stop coming, you fade. It's not anybody's fault that you fade, but you fade. You know? But yeah, so just have something else you're doing, invest in other things. You know? I'm not saying, in short, I'm not going to call anybody's name, but I know some content creators who are not the content creators they used to be, but they're not poor, they're not struggling because they invested in other things. You know, they have other things they're doing, they have other means of sustenance.
So how important is it have you been able to use your content to speak to topics that are important to young Nigerian people?
Always. Madam Teresa's videos is always about dissecting topics that are important. You know, as much as, yes, I want to do it in a funny way, it's always about things that matter, things that people should know, learn. And, you know, yeah, so always. She's always been someone who has taken social responsibility very seriously.
Kenzy Udosen. Oof, I don't know how I was able to go through that podcast. This conversation was truly, truly fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are the Good News Naija podcast. My name is Desmond Eboekunwe.